I know you've been looking for a deal. Why Jam City, and why now, when some people are saying the SPAC honeymoon is over?
Well, Jam City it fits the profile of what we told people we were going to do when we raised $300 million in our SPAC. We told them that we wanted a founder-led company that had a long-term outlook, that wasn't looking sort of for a sort of short-term hit from a SPAC IPO or something, and one that was changing some dimension of how we lived our lives. And turns out that Cookie Jam and the games that they have in their portfolio, people spend 45 minutes a day on those games, rivaling YouTube, Instagram, and so on. So it really is one of these huge and growing TAMs and a huge and growing product for mobile gamers. And why now is actually the last 2 months have been very tough in the SPAC market, as your colleague said. But the companies that are making it out now have been through the test. And that test is, do they have real revenues? Are they real businesses? Does the management team work well together? And can they run a public company? And I think you'll see a lot more quality coming out in the next few months.
So, I guess the question is this the beginning of a longer term SPAC slump that we're seeing? And then how does that change what happens over the course of the next year in terms of the volume and speed of SPACs that, obviously we saw a lot of earlier this year?
Yeah, I mean, one way to say it is there going to be a SPAC slump, or was there a SPAC bubble? And I would argue that people were looking at SPACs and assuming that everyone that came out was good. And I think you're going to have a reversion, and market forces are going to bear and tell companies, hey, you're not worth as much as X, but you're worth Y. And investors are going to want more high quality companies. So I think you're going to see a flight to quality in SPAC sponsors and in companies that come out through the SPAC channel.
Meantime, the last time we spoke, I believe you were feeling pretty critical of Uber and its failure to buy Grubhub, losing out on that deal. Since then, Uber has bought Drizzly. Uber's done a partnership with GoPuff on essential items. I know you're an investor in GoPuff. What do you think of Uber's strategy now, especially having seen DoorDash's recent numbers, their food delivery results really strong? Is Uber now on the right track in your view?
I think Uber's on the right track when it comes to really getting drivers back on the road in the rides business, and knowing that that is critical to getting that part of their business back on track after the pandemic. On the food business, I still think they have a ways to go, but I like the GoPuff deal for obvious reasons. But I think they have a finance and corp dev team now that's thinking differently about deals, and they're doing smarter deals. And the last thing, Emily, is with Grab going public and Didi going public and Uber owning 15-20% of these companies, that's going to be about 15-20 billion dollars worth of liquidity or stock that they have that the market certainly doesn't appreciate yet, I don't think.
And lastly, obviously you're joining us from Miami. You've been there now for a while. Other tech folks are just discovering Miami, and there's a bit of a rivalry now between Miami and old school Silicon Valley. I mean, do you think Miami can really be the next Silicon Valley, having worked here where I am for so many years? Does Miami have what it takes?
I mean, I definitely think Miami can be one of the top 5 tech centers in the country. And people 5 years ago might have questioned whether Austin could have done that, LA or New York, and then all three cities really have become sort of part of the top 5. And I think Miami can be part of that top 5 in the next 5 years also, because it's starting to get capital, the allocators of capital, venture capitalists. It's starting to get engineers, and engineers, frankly, could be anywhere now. And really what you need is executives and entrepreneurs to start companies here. And I think every day there's 3 or 4 starting in Miami these days. So I think it's coming.
So one of the top 5, but not the top. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, having been in Silicon Valley for 20 years before I moved to Miami, Silicon Valley still is a special place, and it will be a special place for a while longer. Talk to me again in 10 years, but it's going to take a while for any city to catch up to what the Bay Area is at from a tech standpoint.